is the crime business. A series that gives you the who's who and the what's what of Britain's notorious criminal underworld. We're going to bring you close to some of the most formidable faces. Are you ready? These guys take lives for a living. If you want to get someone taken out in the crime business, have a quiet word with a hitman.
On The Crime Business, we enter a world where extreme violence is the only currency that counts. They're specialised, skilled, and their power is absolute. Keep your eyes open and your head down as we enter the world of the hitman.
Oh my God.
The police forensic teams are working late tonight, scouring the scene of the murder for the tiniest...
Police traced the motorcycle used by the killer.
To have been killed on the orders of a former business associate he'd fallen out with.
Well, there's a lot of myths about hitmen and what hitmen do.
It is an exceptional profession, if you like. It's the ultimate specialism.
He's just being paid to do a job like anybody else is being paid to do a job. Totally cold-blooded, that's it.
Coming up, a hitman who was active in London's underworld during the 70s explains how contract killing really works. What does it take to squeeze the trigger? What goes into the planning? What are the rules? And what are the mistakes?
They would say, we've got a rat here and we need this rat sorted. So what they've done, they've dehumanised that person, because if you was going out to hit a person, you'd think about family, where if you was going out to hit a rat, what you're getting rid of is vermin.
Plus, the man who found out what techniques today's hitmen use to do their job.
It's quite small, quite compact, and 38 bullets are very powerful and will absolutely kill you at close range, no problem at all.
It's the pinnacle of some people's career, or the last act of desperation for others. However you get there, it doesn't get more serious and final than taking another man's life for money.
It's not just about violence. You can pick up a thug in the street, and you can't train him to be a hitman. Thugs are thugs. People work violence on different levels. You get the guy in the pub who's a bouncer. I could never be a doorman. I mean, I'm 5'6", there's more fat on a greasy chip. But the doorman couldn't blow someone's fucking head off, and I could blow yours.
The reality is that life as a hitman is nothing like the movies.
We read things in books, it's glamorised. People who are writing about it don't actually know about their life.
I think what we've got to be careful to do is not to put people in particular brackets and assume that a hitman is, for instance, particularly tough, ruthless, and an individual to be reckoned with, because that's not necessarily the profile.
The professionals have been trained to cut off all emotion and concentrate on executing the hit.
The most important skill that the hitman has is the ability to commodify the target, to see the target not as a human being, to see the target literally as that, something that needed to be hit.
But first, we get the inside track on life as a hitman.
The culture has been broken now. In the 60s, 70s, 80s, the hitman was an highly trained person.
Bobby was active at a time when criminals had a code of morals and ethics. They were like the rules of any club, but if you broke these rules, you were gambling with your life.
There were certain codes that you could do and you couldn't do. For instance, if you was given a target, you couldn't do it in front of his wife and kids, you know, because you wouldn't want it done on you with your wife and kids. The realities of organised execution, or hitting, as you want to call it, it was done by people that were trained with the weapon. They would know what they was doing. They'd be familiar with their gun, the same as a clerk would be familiar with a pen.
Familiarity with a weapon doesn't guarantee that you can pull the trigger when the moment comes. It takes a special quality that many of us simply don't have.
The hitman and people like that who are capable of acts of cold-blooded violence without thinking about it, in other words we call the antisocial personality disorder, they have then badly damaged as children a lot of the time. They've seen abuse, they might have seen their mothers beaten up by their fathers or their sons or their brothers who are abused, and they become anaesthetised to it.
You don't just wake up one day and decide to be a hitman. Like any other job in the crime business, it takes training and skill.
How you go on from the progression is quite amazing, really, because it is an evolving thing. When we had gang fights, they would come with razors, so you'd get a bayonet. They'd come with a bayonet, you'd get an hatchet. And at the age of 16, I was carrying a sawn-off. And then people see, well, hold up, this guy's got a gun, and he's not afraid to use it. But he's a bit dangerous to be left on his own, so now we've got to get hold of him, and we've got to cultivate him, and we've got to educate him.
Bobby was turned from a schoolboy thug with a taste for violence into a cold-blooded professional killer.
You will be sent somewhere and you'll be trained with a weapon. It's normally an ex-army person who will train you in that weapon so you don't hurt innocent people. Then you'll go out with someone else, and you won't know the person you're going out with, so you can't grass each other. If you mess up, he's going to pop you anyway, and you know that. And it will be sort of like a kneecap job or a terrorising job, because sometimes you don't even have to whack them. You go out and you just stick the gun in their mouth, or you shoot into the ground, you kneel them down by a ditch, you fire in the ground and say, next time I come and eat you, it's going in the back of your fucking head.
There are several ways to become a hitman. One possible route is through club door work.
If you're a bouncer, you might get involved in 3 or 4 fights every night, just breaking them up. And then one day someone's going to say to you, I'll give you 50 quid to go and beat that person up because they've wronged me in some way. If you're a bouncer, you're being paid 30 quid a night, and here's someone offering you 50 quid for 1 fight as opposed to 30 quid for 4 fights. So you think, yeah. And then the next stage might be a month later, you might be asked to break someone's leg for a bit more money, or you might be asked to beat someone up more badly than that, put them in hospital or put them into a coma, and so on. So from there, it's a short leap to actually then saying, I'll give you £10,000 if you kill this person. And, provided you can actually justify it yourself, then you're not going to have a problem going out there and doing it. And again, it's about being in the world where that kind of violence just isn't seen as anything immoral or wrong. It's just part of what you're seeing all the time.
To avoid detection, it's vitally important that the hitman varies his techniques.
You've got to know about the different type of weapons, because you can't use the same weapon, because what happens then is you get what they call an MO. It's a method of operation. So you've got to be able to vary your weapons. And you will read about other hits that have been done. You will go and listen to trials of how people have come undone. You'll read books on how people have been assassinated, what evidence they left behind that got them caught. It's a study of your job.
When professional hitmen are contracted, a job often starts with a dossier on the target.
You would get a profile on that person, very much like British Intelligence Service get a profile on someone they're doing. You've got things like their age, you've got their criminal contacts, because you didn't want to be talking to someone who knew this guy, because they could mark his card. You're interested in people, funny enough, because you want to know what makes them tick. You've got to know what makes them tick if you're going to whack them later on. To plan an actual assassination, you've got to know that guy's routine. You've got to know his likes and his dislikes. Where does he go? What time does he do that?
He will treat it like a military exercise. He will know what to wear, he'll know what transport to use. He will know everything about his hit from the time he gets up in the morning to the time he goes to bed. He will follow him and follow him. He'll stalk him.
He had a pattern, and it would be looking at that pattern, finding the weakest part in that pattern, where there was no witnesses, where that person could be isolated, and the execution could take place.
For the hitman, precise planning is vital. It's a high-stakes role, and mistakes could cost him his life.
Do not say anything!
Get out your head that people who do these sort of things are just mindless thugs. There's so many parts of it that if he was a moron, you couldn't do it.
A textbook hit was carried out on a man in Tenerife, as undercover crime reporter Tony Thompson recently found out.
I met him in a pub near Old Street, and he was introduced to me by someone who knew him very well and someone who trusted me. And because of that, Max was very willing to talk, provided we didn't talk about anything that had happened in the UK. It was all to do with stuff that he'd done abroad. Well, Max got offered the job, being paid £20,000, I believe, to kill this guy who ran a bar in Tenerife. Max decided the best way to do it was to go to Tenerife for a week, so that it wouldn't look suspicious that he'd just been there for a day or so. He actually decided to get to know the person he was going to kill. So he actually went drinking in the bar on the first evening, got talking to the bloke saying that he was thinking of opening a bar himself. And over the course of the week, they became quite friendly, to the point that Max would stay behind after closing hours and still chat to the bar owner. Then on the very last evening he was there, he asked them if they wanted to go for a drive. And they were driving around through the middle of Tenerife, where there's kind of wasteland, really, not very much at all, just desert. And Max said, "Oh, I need a piss," and stopped the car and got out, and the owner said, "Oh, I need one as well." And as the owner was urinating in a bush, Max went up behind him and shot him in the head. Max always used Smith & Wesson .38 snub-nosed special. It's quite small, quite compact, and 38 bullets will absolutely kill you at close range, no problem at all. You leave far less forensic evidence around. If you have an automatic, they automatically eject shell cases, and unless you actually pick those up, they're going to have your fingerprints on them. There wasn't really any suspicion over Max because people had seen him with the bar owner time and again, and they actually all thought that he'd left the day before. He actually got a fake passport that time and went out under a different name, so it was very easy for him to cover his tracks and to come back and job done.
After the break, we look at the unexpected methods contract killers use.
And as they collapse, it looks like a heart attack, and the guy walks off. And in the confusion, he's made his hit.
Plus, all the amateurs who are changing the value of life.
Now you've got lunatics on the street that do it for £5 grand.
They're cold, and they're a killing machine. They're also under contract. This is the life of a hitman.
Coming up, we look at the unexpected methods contract killers use.
You could give them the lethal injection with heroin and look like they've had a party and it's gone wrong. You know, the gear's pure.
Plus, all the amateurs who are changing the value of life.
You tell me when you want it, how you want it done. I mean, we can do it. Do you want it to look like accident or what?
In the crime business, hitmen are viewed as cleaners. It's their job to sort the mess out quickly and efficiently.
The art of a hit was to make sure that it stopped gang warfare, it stopped inter-gang violence. We've got a problem here. 2 crime families could blow up here. We don't want it to get out of hand, so best we eliminate the cause of the problem. And that's purely what it was. So if you like, it was about stopping violence.
Professional hitmen don't take work from just anywhere. It has to be from a trusted criminal contact.
You would be contacted to see whether you was up for that bit of work. It could only be given to you by a man of respect, a respected, what they call it, one of the firm, one of their own would come to you. Now, you know the history of that guy, maybe 3 generations that come to you. And you knew that if the police got hold of that guy, they could bang him up forever. He's never going to put your name up.
For the professionals, there are 2 distinct types of hits, public and covert. If it's covert, chances are you won't even know the hit has taken